I found the old lady sitting on the curb outside the Save-A-Lot on Madison Street, and something about her made me stop. Maybe it was the way she was staring at nothing, or maybe it was the fact that it was 92 degrees and she was wearing a wool coat. Either way, I pulled my Honda Civic into the parking lot, grabbed the loaf of whole wheat bread I'd just bought for myself, and walked back out. "You okay?" I asked, standing over her. She looked up at me with these sharp blue eyes, the kind that see right through you, and smiled like I'd just offered her a winning lottery ticket. "Bless you, honey," she said, reaching for the bread. "You're going to need this more than me." I didn't know what that meant. I still don't, not really. But when she pressed that bread into my hands and whispered something I couldn't quite hear, something about truth in the kitchen and listen when she's on the phone, I felt the back of my neck prickle. I gave her $20 for a cab and drove home, the bread sitting on my passenger seat like it was radioactive. 3 days later, I understood why. My name's Michael Chen. I'm 34 years old, work as a mid-level manager at a commercial real estate firm in Phoenix, and I've got the kind of life that looks perfect in a holiday card. The house on Oakmont Drive, 4 bedrooms, saltwater pool, HOA fees that make me wince, was supposed to be the dream. My wife Jennifer and I bought it 6 years ago, right after her promotion to senior accountant at Deloitte. We've got the matching Range Rovers in the driveway, the professional landscaping, the whole suburban package. Jennifer's my high school sweetheart. We met at Phoenix Central in 2007, both of us broke and ambitious, and pretty sure we were going to own the world by 30. I played baseball back then. Nothing serious, just varsity stuff. And she was the girl in AP Calc who actually understood derivatives while the rest of us were sleeping through lectures. We got married at 26, did the courthouse thing, because both our families were fighting over the wedding budget. That part doesn't matter anymore, but at the time it felt rebellious. Like we were above all that. My sister Ashley moved in with us about 8 months ago. That's where everything gets complicated. Ashley's 3 years younger than me, and she's always been the one who couldn't get her life together. Different jobs every 6 months, relationships that exploded spectacularly, the kind of chaos that made our parents age faster. Jennifer and I had offered her the guest house. We converted the garage into a separate unit with its own entrance, after she lost her apartment in what she called a misunderstanding with a landlord, but what was probably unpaid rent. We didn't ask too many questions. That's what family does, right? The house had been quiet before Ashley moved in, the kind of quiet that comes with routine. I'd wake up at 6, do a 20-minute run around the neighborhood, shower, kiss Jennifer goodbye while she was getting her coffee ready, and drive to the office. She'd head to work at 7:30, work until 5 or 6, come home, and we'd do the dinner thing, usually something quick because Jennifer's been on this wellness journey, and most of our meals are chicken breasts and roasted vegetables. We'd watch something mindless on Netflix, go to bed around 10:30. Weekends were golf with the guys from work, or we'd host people over for pool parties, where everyone drank craft beer and complained about their kids' tuition. It wasn't romantic anymore, if I'm being honest. It was comfortable, safe. The kind of marriage that works when both people are too busy to question whether they're actually happy. Then Ashley showed up with 2 suitcases and a story about how she was going to reset her life and finally get serious about her future. She was going to take some online classes, maybe get a certification in something. She hadn't decided what yet. She talked a lot. Jennifer was nicer about it than I expected. She even helped Ashley decorate the guest house, went with her to Target to pick out some furniture. For the first 3 months, it was actually fine. Ashley found a job at a dental office as a receptionist. Decent money, stable hours. She'd come over for dinner a couple times a week. We'd play cards or watch movies. She was trying, and it felt good to help her, if I'm being completely honest. Like I was finally doing something right for my family, besides writing checks. But around month 4, things got weird. It started small. Jennifer would come home later than usual, claiming she had to stay late for some audit. She'd be on her phone more, texting, scrolling, always moving between apps. Nothing I could put my finger on, just this low hum of something being off. She'd catch me looking at her and smile like everything was fine, But it wasn't the same smile. It was the smile you give a stranger on the bus. I didn't want to be paranoid. I hated the idea of being that guy, the one who checks his wife's phone or reads her texts. That's not who I was. Or who I thought I was anyway. The weird part was Ashley. She started acting strange too. Quiet when Jennifer was around. Almost nervous. They'd exchange these looks across the dinner table. Quick little glances that meant something I wasn't included in. Once I came home early from a client lunch and heard them talking in the kitchen. The second I opened the garage door, they both went silent. Jennifer was suddenly very interested in the recipe she was making. Ashley excused herself and went back to the guest house. I told myself I was imagining things. Jennifer had been stressed about work. Ashley was probably just still finding her footing. People can be weird sometimes. That's normal. That's just life. But that was before I met the old lady with the bread. I didn't think about what she said until I was making a sandwich the next morning. Jennifer had already left for the office. Ashley was still asleep. The bread was sitting on the counter, and I was spreading peanut butter when her words came back to me. Truth in the kitchen. Listen when she's on the phone. I felt stupid. What was I supposed to do? Hide in my own kitchen like some kind of stalker? But something was gnawing at me, something that had been gnawing for weeks. The late nights, the phone, the looks between my wife and my sister. My phone buzzed. A text from my buddy Marcus at work. Golf tomorrow at 8? I texted back yes, and tried to forget about old ladies and cryptic warnings. That night, Jennifer came home at 6:47 p.m. I remember checking the clock. She was supposed to be home by 6. She set her bag down, kissed my cheek, not my lips, just my cheek, and said she was going to take a shower. She had her phone in her hand the whole time. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe it was cowardice. Maybe it was something else. But while she was in the shower, I stood in our bedroom with my heart pounding like I'd just run a mile, and I listened. I could hear her phone buzzing on the nightstand. Once, twice, a third time. Messages coming in rapid succession. I didn't touch it. I didn't read them. But I knew something was very, very wrong. And I still didn't understand that the old lady's warning wasn't about Jennifer at all. I stood in my bedroom with my heart pounding like I'd just run a mile. And I listened. I could hear her phone buzzing on the nightstand. Once, twice, a third time. Messages coming in rapid succession. I didn't touch it. I didn't read them. But I knew. I knew something was very, very wrong. And I still didn't understand that the old lady's warning wasn't about Jennifer at all. The golf game the next morning felt like a performance. Marcus was talking about his daughter's SAT scores, and David from accounting was complaining about his ex-wife's new boyfriend. I smiled at the right moments, made the right jokes, and inside I was coming apart at the seams. "You're quiet today, man," Marcus said on the 7th hole. "Everything good?" "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired. Long week at work." He nodded like he understood, but he didn't. Nobody understood. I was the guy who had everything: the house, the wife, the career trajectory that made people jealous at parties. I wasn't supposed to be standing on a golf course wondering if my wife was sleeping with someone else, or with my sister. God. I couldn't even think it without feeling like I was going to throw up. I came home at 11. Jennifer's Range Rover was in the driveway, which meant she'd taken the day off. Or called in sick. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet. I found her in the kitchen, making a salad, wearing yoga pants and one of my old college t-shirts. She looked beautiful. She looked like the girl I'd married. "Hey, babe," she said, not looking up from the tomatoes she was slicing. "How was golf?" "Fine. How was your day?" "Took a personal day. Work's been insane. I just needed a break." She finally looked at me, and her eyes were completely normal. No guilt, no secrets. Just Jennifer, the woman I'd loved for 16 years. "You hungry? I'm making something light." I wanted to ask her where she'd been yesterday when she stayed late at the office. I wanted to ask her why she was texting at 6 in the morning. I wanted to ask her about the looks she exchanged with my sister. But instead, I said, "Yeah, sure. Sounds good. That's when I heard the knock on the garage door. The one that leads to the guest house. Jennifer's hands stilled on the knife. Just for a second, but I saw it. She recovered immediately, wiping her hands on a towel. That's probably Ashley. I asked her if she wanted to join us for lunch. You did? I hadn't known that. There was no reason I should have known that, but I didn't. Yeah, she's been so stressed with work. I thought it would be nice to hang out. Is that okay? It wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. But I nodded and moved out of the way. Ashley came in looking flushed, her hair damp like she'd just gotten out of the shower. She hugged Jennifer, a quick, normal hug, and then turned to me. Hey, Michael, didn't know you'd be home. Apparently neither did you, I said, and immediately regretted the tone. What's that supposed to mean? Ashley's voice had an edge to it. Nothing, just didn't realize you two had plans. Jennifer laughed, but it sounded forced. We didn't. I just texted Ash while you were out. Come on, let's eat. I made way too much. We sat at the kitchen island, the same one where Jennifer and I had eaten breakfast together for 6 years, where we discussed mortgage refinancing and my promotion, and whether we should get a dog. The three of us ate salad and made small talk, and I felt like I was watching the scene from outside my own body. Ashley's thinking about taking some business classes, Jennifer said, breaking a silence that had gone on too long. She wants to move up at the dental office, maybe become office manager. That's good, I said, looking at my sister. You should do that. Yeah? Ashley's eyes met mine, and there was something pleading in them, something that said, please don't ask questions. Please don't ruin this. Yeah, you're smart. You should use that. Jennifer reached over and squeezed Ashley's arm. The gesture was tender, intimate in a way that made my stomach twist. And then I saw it. Just for a flash, there and gone. Ashley's hand moved up, almost touching Jennifer's face, before she caught herself and pulled back to pick up her fork. My wife and my sister. The realization hit me like a physical blow, and I had to grip the edge of the counter to keep myself upright. Michael? Jennifer was looking at me with concern. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine. I think that salad might have been bad. I don't feel great. Do you need to lie down? There was genuine worry in her voice. That was the worst part. The genuine worry. Yeah, maybe. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to head upstairs for a bit. I made it to the bedroom before my legs gave out. I sat on the edge of the bed we shared, the bed where she'd kissed my cheek instead of my lips, and tried to breathe. My hands were shaking. My vision had gone a little fuzzy at the edges. I'd been so focused on Jennifer's infidelity that I hadn't even considered the possibility. Women didn't do that, or they did. But it wasn't something that happened in your own house. It wasn't something that happened to you. Downstairs, I could hear them laughing about something. Their voices were animated, happy. And I realized that Jennifer had probably been happier these past 8 months than she'd been in years. Not because of anything I was doing, because of Ashley. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The old lady's words came back to me. Truth in the kitchen. Listen when she's on the phone. She hadn't been warning me about Jennifer having an affair. She'd been telling me to listen, to pay attention, to see what was happening right in front of me. But knowing the truth and knowing what to do about it were two very different things. And as I lay there listening to my wife and my sister laugh together downstairs, I realized I had no idea how to fix this. No idea if I even wanted to. Everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. And the worst part? The absolute worst part? I had no one to tell, no one to turn to. If I told my parents, it would destroy the family. If I told my friends, everyone would know. If I confronted Jennifer or Ashley, I'd be the bad guy for spying, for listening, for catching them. I was completely, utterly alone with this secret. That night, after Ashley had gone back to the guest house and Jennifer had fallen asleep beside me, I got out of bed and went downstairs. I sat in the dark living room with a bottle of whiskey and tried to figure out what came next. The old lady had given me the truth. She just hadn't told me that the truth would destroy everything I had. I woke up on the couch at 3 in the morning with the whiskey bottle half empty on the coffee table and my mouth tasting like copper and regret. The house was silent, that specific kind of silence that only exists when you're awake and everyone else is asleep, and you're alone with knowledge that will destroy everything. I needed to see proof. Not because I didn't believe what I'd witnessed, but because I needed something concrete. Something I could hold in my hands and say, this is real, this is happening. So I did something I'd never done before. I got Jennifer's iPad from the kitchen, the one she kept her calendar on, and I opened it. The password was our anniversary date, 6 years of marriage, and she'd never changed it. That felt like a betrayal of a different kind. The email app opened to her work account first, but I kept digging. Her messages, her photos, her notes app. And there it was. A shared note between her and Ashley, dated back 8 months, right when Ashley moved in. Lists of dates, times, places they'd meet when I was at work or playing golf. Code words. Dentist appointment meant the Motel 6 on 16th Street. Girls' night meant Ashley's guest house while I was supposedly at Marcus's place. One note from 2 weeks ago. Michael's been acting weird. I think he knows. We need to be more careful. I love you so much. Ashley's response. I love you too. I'm so scared. What if he leaves? What if he takes everything? I read those words about 30 times. My hands stopped shaking. My heart stopped racing. Something inside me went very, very cold. I screenshotted everything, every message, every date, every code word. Then I called a lawyer at 6:47 a.m., exactly the time Jennifer had come home that day, and left a voicemail. This is Michael Chen. I need to schedule a consultation. Today. It's urgent. My wife is having an affair with my sister. The lawyer, a woman named Patricia Hoffman, who specialized in family law, called me back within an hour. I gave her the basics while sitting in my car in the driveway, watching the sun come up over the neighborhood I'd worked so hard to afford. Do you have documentation? She asked. Screenshots from her iPad, messages between them, dates, times, locations. Good, that's very good. Don't confront them yet, don't show your hand. We need to do this carefully. There's money involved, and when there's money, things get complicated. I knew what she meant. The house, my 401k, Jennifer's income, the fact that Arizona was a community property state, which meant we'd be splitting everything down the middle. Except Jennifer would probably want the house, and Ashley would be living here, and I'd be writing checks to both of them for years. What do? I asked. Come to my office. We'll talk about your options. But before I could do that, I needed to understand why. Not the mechanics of it. I understood those well enough. But the why. How had my wife and my sister looked me in the eye every single day and lied? How had they planned around me, moved around me, turned our house into a stage where I was the only one who didn't know the script? I went back inside. Jennifer was in the kitchen making coffee, wearing her work clothes, getting ready for another day of lying to her firm, her colleagues, her boss. She looked at me and smiled. Hey babe, you're up early. Yeah, I said. Couldn't sleep. You okay? I looked at her. Really looked at her. And I realized that the woman I was looking at was a stranger. The Jennifer I'd married, the ambitious girl from AP Calc who wanted to own the world, had died somewhere in the last 8 months. This woman was someone else entirely. No, I said. I'm not okay. She set down her coffee mug. What's wrong? I know. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. She gripped the counter. Know what? Her voice was barely a whisper. Everything, the messages, the dates, the motel rooms, all of it. She opened her mouth to speak, closed it, opened it again. Michael, I don't want to hear it, not right now. But I want you to listen to me very carefully. I've already contacted a lawyer. I have screenshots of everything. And if you and Ashley try to hide anything, if you try to claim you didn't know what you were doing, if you try to gaslight me about what happened in this house, I will make sure everyone knows what you did. Your parents, your boss, everyone at Deloitte. The HOA. I will burn your life to the ground. She was crying now, but I didn't feel anything. No sympathy, no anger, just a kind of clinical detachment. I loved you, I said. I gave you everything. And you chose her. You chose my sister. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to move out today. You're going to stay somewhere else while we figure this out, and Ashley needs to be gone by tonight. Michael, please. We can work through this. We can go to couples counseling. We can. No, we can't. There's nothing to work through. You made your choice. This is the consequence. I walked out of the kitchen and up the stairs. I could hear her crying downstairs, could hear her on the phone, probably with Ashley, telling her what I'd said. Good. Let them both panic. Let them both understand that their secret was out and the real world was about to come crashing down on them. Patricia Hoffman's office was in a building downtown, all glass and steel and expensive furniture. She was a woman in her 60s with gray hair and eyes that had seen every flavor of human betrayal. She listened to my story without interrupting, reviewed my screenshots, and then sat back in her chair. "This is good," she said. "Very clean. The messages show intent, planning, and conscious deception. It's exactly what we need." She pulled out a legal pad. "I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to be ugly. Your wife will hire her own lawyer, and they'll try to minimize the affair as irrelevant to the divorce proceedings. Arizona law doesn't really care about infidelity. It's a no-fault divorce state. But what this does is show her character. It shows the court that she's capable of deception on a massive scale. It gives us leverage in custody arrangements if you have children, which you don't, but it matters for asset division. What happens to the house? That depends. Community property means you both have equal claim. But if you can show that marital assets were spent on the affair, hotel rooms, meals, anything, that can factor into the calculation. We can push for you to keep the house and buy out her share, or we can push for a sale and split the proceeds. What do you want? I thought about that house. The 4 bedrooms, the saltwater pool, the landscaping that cost more per month than some people's rent. I'd bought it to prove something, to show that I'd made it, that I was successful, that my life was perfect. "I don't want it," I said. "Sell it. Split whatever we get. I just want her out of my life." Patricia nodded like she'd heard that before. "That's smart. Emotionally, you might feel different in 6 months, but financially, it's the right call. You won't have to see her. You won't have to walk past the memories every day." She drafted the separation agreement right there, in her office, while I sat across from her and signed away my marriage. It took 45 minutes. 45 minutes to dismantle 16 years. When I got home, Jennifer's Range Rover was gone. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "I'm staying at the Marriott on Camelback. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I love you. Please call me so we can talk." I threw the note away without reading the rest. Ashley's guest house was empty by evening. She'd taken everything: the furniture we'd helped her buy, the clothes, the small life she'd built in our backyard. She left a note too, but I didn't open it. I just locked the door and decided that space would be empty until we sold the house. The divorce took 6 months. 6 months of lawyers' letters, mediation sessions, and financial disclosures. In the end, we sold the house for $1.2 million. After the real estate agent's commission and the mortgage payoff, there was about $480,000 left. We split it. Jennifer got $240,000. I got $240,000 plus my 401k, which was another $180,000. She also got to keep her car and her job. I got mine. The weirdest part? We never actually had to sit down and talk about what happened. The lawyers handled everything. I never heard her version of the story, never understood her side, never got closure. She just became someone I used to know, someone whose legal name appeared on documents, but whose voice I didn't hear anymore. Ashley sent me a text 6 months after she moved out. "I'm sorry for everything. I was a coward. I love Jennifer, and I know that makes me a terrible sister, but it's true. I'm sorry for hurting you." I didn't respond. I deleted the message and blocked her number. 6 months ago, I bought a small condo downtown. One bedroom, one bathroom, floor-to-ceiling windows that look out over the city. No pool, no HOA fees, no memories. Just me and the silence and the knowledge that I'd been completely wrong about the life I was living. Last month, I ran into the old lady at the Save-A-Lot again. She was sitting on the same curb, in the same wool coat, staring at the same nothing. I almost didn't recognize her, and then our eyes met, and I remembered. "Hello, honey," she said, like no time had passed at all. I sat down next to her. "You knew, didn't you? About Jennifer and Ashley. You knew the whole time." She smiled, and her blue eyes were knowing and sad. "I didn't know, but I could see it. The truth sits around people who are lying. It sits on their shoulders like a bird. Once you know how to look for it, you can see it on anyone. Why did you warn me? Why not just let me live in ignorance?" She reached over and patted my hand. "Because ignorance isn't living, honey. It's just existing. And you deserved better than that." I bought her a sandwich and a bottle of water, and we sat there for an hour while the Arizona heat beat down on us. She told me about her own marriage, her own betrayals, the ways she'd rebuilt her life after everything fell apart. She told me that healing wasn't about forgetting, it was about understanding. It wasn't about getting revenge, it was about getting even with yourself. When I left, I gave her $500. "For what?" she asked. "For the bread," I said. "For the warning. For telling me the truth when no one else would." She nodded like she understood exactly what I meant. "I'm 35 now. I've been divorced for 8 months. I don't talk to Jennifer or Ashley. I don't know where they are or what they're doing. Sometimes I wonder if they're still together, if they moved somewhere else, if they're happy. But mostly, I don't wonder at all." The old lady was right about one thing. The truth doesn't set you free. It just shows you the cage we're living in. But once you see the cage, you can finally walk out. And sometimes, on hot days, I think about that bread and that old lady, and the moment she looked at me with those sharp blue eyes and decided that I deserved to know. I've made peace with Jennifer, with Ashley, with myself. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just grateful I got out before I wasted another 16 years pretending to be happy. The truth, as it turns out, was the greatest gift anyone's ever given me.